There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Breathe in and out. Slowly feel all that's around you. All that you feel, all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. Yeah, when we unite. Oh, we unite. Yeah, yeah, when we unite. Yeah, yeah. You are welcome here. Love is welcome here. Peace is welcome here. You are welcome here.
Yes. We are here. We are back a little late. Thank you for your patience. All is well. Life is in session, and it is what it is. We just dance with it and go with it and grow with it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, and good day to you wherever you are. Thank you so much for tuning in to yourself first and then tuning in to Ade Presents. Being you, the journey back to yourself. When you tune into yourself, you give yourself permission to be transformed. That is important. And as you create the space for transformation, you allow yourself to see life differently, to be made new. I am Ade, your transformational beingness artist. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am present. I am here. I am now. And so are you. This is season 3, episode 22, Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. Our theme is being free. What does it take to be free? Are you free? We'll talk more about that. That's the theme for the month. And oh yeah, speaking of the month, I got some announcements. Yeah, we got announcements. So anyway, life is in session and all is well. On Being You, we invite you to take a look. We always invite you to take a look at yourself. You know, how do you see yourself? How do you see the world? How do you see yourself in the world? And how do you see the world in you? It's about self-reflection, self-awareness, self-understanding, self-love, self-care. When you take care of all those selves, everything else will take care of itself. Because when you take care of yourself, everything will take care of itself. Self is present. It shows up. So the only work we're here to do is to do the work of self. Because your self's got your back. We're inviting you to join us on our main page on Facebook, facebook.com/Being You Podcast. And also, you know, you're already here. Well, if you're already on Facebook, you can go there. We also invite you to go to YouTube as well. YouTube.com/ well, if you're here already, if you're on Facebook, stay on Facebook. But if you want to go to YouTube, you can do that too. Okay. You don't have to be at both places because you're just going to hear me twice and it'll be annoying. I mean, I know I'm cool in that. I'm deep and all that, but you don't want to hear me at the same time twice. That's just doing too much. YouTube.com/LC Radio. And we invite you to subscribe because we're growing that platform. We also invite you to like because that's how you tell the algorithm that, oh, people do like this content. Let's share with other people. And of course, we want you to share the show. Rev D is going to be joining us soon. And let's go through the announcements real quick. For those of you who don't know, I partnered with Libsyn.com. Libsyn.com is a hosting site, LIBSYN.com. If you sign up with them, you get the first month free. Now, depending on what time of the month you sign up. Like if you sign up right now, actually, no, don't sign up today, the first. Don't do it. Don't do it. Sign up tomorrow. Then you get the whole of June free, as well as the whole of July. You're guaranteed to get 1 month free, but you can get a little bit more whenever you sign up. Does that make sense? Oh, how do you do it? You need a promo code. Don't just run there. Come back. I told you don't sign up today anyway, so I don't know why you're going there to sign up. You need a promo code. The promo code is Ade, ADE. Use that. So whenever you sign up, if you sign up in the middle of a month, you get the rest of that month free, and then the next month free as well. Check it out. They've got several services, and they are, if you haven't heard of Libsyn, you will soon, because they are buying all kind of companies, and they're growing and growing and growing and growing. Promo code Ade, ADE. Wednesday, join Ricky Bias and myself for soulful songs, soulful Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern and 2 a.m. UK time. You can tune in by going to youtube.com/Ricky Bias. That's RICKIE, not a Y. Drop the Y. Why? Because it's not needed. Ricky Bias. RICKIE Bias. BYARS. And you can go there to catch the past shows that we've done as well. Pretty powerful. So it's a healing gathering, a whole hour of just healing sessions. I love it. Of course, I'm there. I got to love it. Not as an obligation, but because I love everything I do and co-create with others. Speaking of co-creating, Representing our ancestors, representing our stories is back June 19th. It's time to hold a vision for a new generation. This is part 3. Part 1 was dealing with grief. We did a grief ritual, healing our grief, allowing stories, memories, emotions to come up, to share stories with one another and look at how we process grief. The part 2, we decided that it's time to tell a new story, to change the narratives that's out there about what it means to be Black in the world, Africans in the diaspora, the stories of our ancestors. We came together to change that. Doesn't require a lot of people to do change. It just requires a few groups of people who are committed, who are holding the vision and have a deep intention to like, okay, it's time to shift this. Now we're holding and catching a new vision for a new generation. June 19th, 1 p.m. Eastern. That is 6 p.m. UK time. It's a 3-hour gathering. Michelle Jordan will be joining me and Musanko. Musanko joined me for the last one for the storytelling or telling a new story. And Michelle joined me for the part 1 where we did the grief ritual. This next one, sign up now, bit, the link, bit.ly/represent or represent vision, bit.ly/represent vision. Sign up, read more about it, and join us June 19th. Some few other announcements I want to get through real quick. Join me July 8th. I'm a guest with Liz Dillnut. We are talking about taking the plunge. What does it mean to take the plunge? What journeys? So this is a space that she created for artists and musicians, creatives, to talk about what it means to take a plunge. I'm looking over here because I got a computer over here. I'm trying to see what's going on. That's July 19th. To find out more about that, to register, the link is bit.ly/TTP Liz. That's taking the plunge. TTP Liz, Liz or Z, depending on where you are in the world. One quick announcement too is Being You podcast is going to go on we're changing our schedule for a few months. Right now we're looking at for the next 3 months. So instead of it being every week, it'll be every week. Yeah, well, instead of being every week. Yeah, I was right. Instead of it being every week, it will be every 2 weeks now. So we do a show on the first Tuesday of the month, and then the third Tuesday of the month. Next Tuesday, the third Tuesday this month, we have Musanko Banda. We're going to talk about the healing power of storytelling. I remember one of the things that he shared about storytelling, that one of the things they say, he's from Malawi, and he said in his culture, they say the shortest distance between two people is a story. And he's a storyteller. He teaches it and travels literally around the world. So make sure you join us. That's whatever date that is, 3 weeks from now. So the theme is being you. Rev D is in the house, not being you, being free. That's the theme. Today we're talking about truth and reconciliation. And we just want to invite you, what does it mean to be free for you? Do you feel free? Do you feel free sometimes? And other times you don't feel free? Is there something going on in your life? Something that you've seen? Maybe it's the political landscape is causing you to feel in bondage and you wish it could be different. What would it take for it to be different? How would it be different? How would you be different if you really embrace the idea that you're free? Is that possible? Can we really be free? Because there are people who are greedy and power, they won't let us be free. Well, what's coming up for you? What's your story? And if you had the power to change the way you see freedom about yourself, what would you change? Questions to get you thinking and seeing where it leads you. It's a self-inquiry. And today's topic is truth and reconciliation. And Rev D is in the house, so you know I am excited. I'm going to read Rev D's bio. I'm going to bring her, but before I do that, let me just acknowledge those of you in the chat room. Thank you all for being here. Pam is here. July 8th, not the 19th. What did I say? Well, so July 8th is the event that I'm doing with Liz, the plunge, taking the plunge. That's the name of that conversation. The third Tuesday in June is the 15th. So I don't know what I said, Pam, but whatever I said, clearly I made a mistake. So thank you for correcting me. I appreciate that. Pam, thank you for being here. Teresa, greetings to you, New Jays, and all the other silent listeners. Thank you, thank you, thank you for showing up. Thank you for saying yes and being part of the healing that is happening. Oh, okay. Thank you. Sometimes it is what it is. All right. Reverend Deborah L. Johnson. Rev D is a lifelong social justice activist with a passion for healing social, political, and cultural divides. She is the founder of Inner Light Ministries, board member of the Pachamama Alliance, and the founding member with Michael Bernard Beckwith of Agape International Spiritual Center. She is the author of The Sacred Yes and Your Deepest Intent. Her website address is Deborah L. Johnson, Deborah with an H, ljohnson.org. And if you go to all the other social media platforms, there's only one. Trust me. Just type Deborah Johnson. You'll find her. And I always say this, for the most part, if you don't have the sacred yes or your deepest intent, get it. Especially if you're questioning and saying, what is going on? I don't understand. Get it. Remember in one of the scriptures in the Bible where it said, before you ask, I will answer? You already have the answer. The question will lead you to it. So don't worry about the answers. It's already done. So you're being invited to ask the question so you can find your way. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, psychics and skeptics, physical beings and non-physical beings, help me welcome my sister, my friend, my mentor, myself, the amazing Reverend Deborah L. Johnson. Rev D's in the house.
Hey, Ade, how you doing?
I am good. I'm good. I feel like we need to schedule a date to go out for some coffee.
Yeah,
unfortunately, it's going to be on Zoom.
let's make that happen. Although I am working my way to try to get to the UK.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm going to know anyway. There's no point even saying, let me know when. I mean, because I just know.
Yes,
you already told me.
You'll be one of the first to know, but there are so many people who have been purchasing the Sacred Yes in the UK. And other people who are studying with me in other places in Europe, and they say they'll come to the UK, they'll come to London. It's like, okay, so we might have to do a sojourn there. And it's been a minute since I've been.
Yeah, it's 5 years now? I was in America then. I was resisted. Woo, it's like you were late. You should have been there, but that's okay. I don't hold grudges. I am that I am. So now it's time. So how are you doing? You're back in the spiritual center, right? Inner Light Ministries, and
yes,
it's different now. You don't have people in there like it used to be before. You had people in the space, and you're talking to them, and the camera is capturing that. Now your camera is capturing you while you have some people. What is that like for you? That shift, that change?
Well, on Easter we started opening up partially. So on first and third Sundays we're full on, so people can come in. And second and fourth we do a little hybrid thing. I think what you're really referring to is that I had been doing the Sunday services in this format, like literally where I'm seated at this moment. And, I can't get my mojo like that. So they've got me back on my pulpit so that I can have some space and with my band and my music and we can jam. Finding that balance between the virtual and in person, I can't say as I've actually have that yet. It's slow in terms of people coming back. We maybe get 50, 60 people like physically here. It's like a really slow comeback, but there'll be 1,500 that'll watch all the way through, online. So I've shifted kind of my perspective about who's my audience and like, where is church, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah. I don't have as much attachment anymore to this physical space.
Yeah. And it looks like, we're more digitized now than we, before we maybe even in denial about it. Like, but now just people who were saying, can we work from home? It's like, oh no, that could never happen. Now it's like, what you mean you want to come into work? Go home and log into Zoom. How dare you say you want to come into work?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we forget that the word church in scripture, that particularly Jesus uses, the Greek word ecclesia, just literally means the community. That's all that it means. It literally means the people. It's not an institution. And somehow or another, we have made church about brick and mortar and institutions. That what would Jesus do? That isn't what Jesus did.
He's just like, what y'all doing in that building?
That's not what, and so few people that he spoke to could even get inside the building. In Jesus's day, only about a third of Jewish males even qualified to get into the temple. And that was it. No women and no non-Jews.
Speaking of truth and reconciliation, huh?
Yep.
Well, let's talk about that. There's so many places I want to go with it, and I want to. Well, let me stop, because you knock out everything that I have in my head in 10 seconds, and I'm like, okay, so where do we go now? Okay, Spirit, give me some more stuff. Let's talk truth and reconciliation. What does it mean? What does it mean to you?
Well, they're the two separate words, but together it speaks of a particular process. If you want to talk about, to go into truth and reconciliation. So what that process involves is where people who have been at odds with each other, who have injured each other or brought hurt or pain to each other, or have been the recipients of the hurt or the pain, actually have a chance to come together. Another term that we sometimes use for it is restorative justice. It's this way where we're not just punitive, but we listen. And the listening, and what makes it so powerful, is the ownership, the transparency, the acknowledgement of what it's been on all sides. It's a very painful process, but it allows you to get on a path of release, which can go to the reconciliation. It allows you to get on a path of empathy. It allows you to get on a path of redemption, because it puts you in the position to be able to make amends. The quote unquote reparations. I find it interesting that in that prayer that we refer to as the Lord's Prayer, and it says, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, is found in chapter 6 in the book of Matthew, in the middle of the Sermon on the Mount, that word debt does not refer to a monetary obligation. a more accurate word would be offense. Offense. But there's a particular thing about this offense. It says it is the kind of offense, a synonym for it would be trespass. To trespass, you crossed a line. You violated some territory or some space you had no right to be in. Emotional, psychologically, physically, materially, like what you crossed the line. You did an offense, but here's the beauty of that word in its definition: an offense in which reparation is obligatory. Where reparation is obligatory. Where there is an offense and you got to do something to clean it up. You got to do something to clean it up. I'm sorry is not enough. I'm sorry is not enough. You have to make amends. And truth and reconciliation is really about that.
Yeah.
It's about the facing what you've done, fierce inventory, as they say in 12-step programs, fierce inventory, and then the courage to make amends. Because if you don't, the energy of that stays with you.
Yes.
And the energy of that keeps impacting anything and everything that you are involved with. The hurt that you inflicted on other people stays with you. You need to make the amends to free yourself.
Yes.
Not just them. They could be dead. They could be long and gone. But you're still suffering from your own mistakes.
Makes me think of the statement when they say we're not punished. What is it? We're not punished for our sins. We're punished by our sins. Right?
Yes. Yes. You're punished by them because everything has a natural consequence, a consequence with a sequence, a consequence. I feel like this is what people have even missed in the garden story. It wasn't about a punishment, but saying, look, you can do anything but this one thing. And if you do this one thing, it has a consequence. You won't be able to stay in this garden. And you can do it if you want to.
Yeah. I ain't saying don't do it.
But you can't stay.
That's right. That's it. So, there's also this spiritual idea, which is really spiritual truth. It's true. We can't have in the world what we're not willing to become.
Sure.
And I want to look at truth and reconciliation from a more personal perspective. Of course, most of us, I know for me, when I first heard about it, it's about correcting an injustice. There's a lot of political unrest, injustice, genocide that goes on in the world. And we hear about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So it's often what they did, and they are trying to speak the truth about what they did and reconcile it. But what does that really look like on an individual basis? Especially, and I would also like you to speak to truth, the spiritual truth and personal truth. Yeah. I think that's one of those best kept secret that no longer need to be a secret, because I think it's so powerful, which I've read is in the Sacred Yes, the spiritual truth and personal truth, and what truth and reconciliation looks like on a personal level.
Yes. So I spoke to what that phrase typically means within the world of like social justice. There are different kinds of truth. There's your personal truth, which has to do with the things that have gone on in your life and your experiences. Your experience not being what has gone on, but your narrative about what has gone on, how you have named it, that becomes your experience. However, as spiritual beings, there's a higher truth. See, we are incarnations, incarnate in flesh. Something is in the flesh. Your personal truth is about that which has happened within this flesh form. But there is something about you that is transcendent of the flesh form. And that's your soul. That's your essence. That's your being. So not to try to complicate matters, but the deepest and the highest, in my estimation, truth and reconciliation is between those. It's where your personal truth has been doing assault to your spiritual truth. Your personal truth has been negating, abusing, violating, trespassing against, dishonoring at so many levels our spiritual truth. And we haven't listened. We haven't listened to the spiritual truth to say, look, this is who I am. This is what I want to be. Give me a chance to do that. Get your knee off my neck. Let me be. Let me be. And the reconciliation, the making amends to that. So when your personal truth is making amends to your spiritual truth, oh, that's when the magic starts to happen. Because that's when you start saying, okay, what are the reparations here? What is it that I need to do? What is it I need to stop doing? I need to stop lying. I need to stop hiding. I need to stop buying into lack and limitation. I need to move beyond judgment, the shame, blame game. I need to step into my power. I need to remember my greater yet to be. I need to be caring and compassionate. I need to share. I need to wake up. Woo! When you start reconciling that, baby,
yes.
when it reminds me of that line in The Color Purple, where Celie looks at Master and she points her finger. Everything you touch gonna go bad till you do right by me. See? And at a certain level, not that it's judging and condemning, but it's kind of like that. That spiritual truth is saying, you know what? Everything you touch gonna be a little half-assed till you do right by me. Everything you do gonna be a little less than it can be until you come up there and come clean with me.
Yes. Which is powerful, basically, when I think about it, based on what you said earlier, because if you're not doing right by somebody, you're going to deal with the consequences, and it's going to affect, influence whatever you do. So somebody can say, oh, that's a curse. No, it's just the consequences. If your mind ain't right, what you do ain't gonna be right completely. So it's in there. I love the distinction in the sacred years when we say you reap what you sow, and the distinction is now as you sow, so shall you reap. Which I remember reading. It's like, wow, that's such a distinction, because oftentimes we say you reap what you sow. Can you speak to that?
Yes.
That just came up for me. I think it ties into what we're talking about here.
Yes. It's similar in the forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Forgive us our offenses in the same manner in which that we often say you reap what you sow, making it transactional, quid pro quo, this for that, tit for tat. It's not a tit for tat. It's not so much, you give an egg, you get an egg back. It isn't so much that. It's a matter of a process. It's a matter of how you show up in the world. It's as you sow, so shall you reap. The consciousness in which you do things is the consciousness in which you'll get it back. So if you start off with something with a consciousness of lying and cheating, then that's the kind of reward that you will reap. If you're doing something with the consciousness of love and compassion, then your experience, even in the midst of everything else that's going on, is still that. So if you march in the streets and you're marching in the streets with love in your heart, not only for yourselves and your people who you're trying to liberate, but love in your heart for the oppressors, then even when you are in the jail vans on your way to jail, you can be singing. You can be singing and praising the Lord about the victory, not mad and angry and ready to kill and shoot somebody, because you started off in love and you end in love, because love is where you're living. So your experience gets to be love all the way through. All the way through. I remember hearing Nelson Mandela say that in his earlier years, he was too busy to be nice and kind. He got convicted to life at age 47. And he did 27 years of that life term there at Robben Island. And he said it was then that he learned to be nice to the guards. It was there that he realized that if he treated them with a certain amount of respect, that he got treated with a certain amount of respect back. See, it's the consciousness with which you do it is what you'll get back. Let's just say, whatever. Let's say I'm a foster parent and I take in an at-risk youth. Okay. And I know it's a little risky. And sure enough, this kid steals my jewels, and doesn't come back. Okay. I could be mad and I could be angry and all of that. But if my consciousness initially was to help and to empower that youth, then even in the act of that violation against me, I will see it as another cry for help. I won't be just the victim. I will bless that kid on their journey. Hope I get my jewels back. But also hope that the next person is there to help that kid. That's the as you sow, so shall you reap. And what it says in that very specifically is that even if you do the right things, basically, if you do them for the wrong reasons, you won't get the good harvest. You'll feel like a fake. You'll feel like a phony. You won't even get the blessing that's there. You won't even get it. I remember when I really learned that. Well, this was many years ago. I was in the foundational classes of religious science, and we had to give a gift anonymously. And I was running out of time, and I didn't really have anything. And there was I don't even know where it came from, but it was a plant I didn't like. It was like a plastic thing, flowers, kind of bluish thing. I don't even know where it came from. But I remember I took it and I anonymously put it on the desk of one of the women that worked in my office. This is when I worked for Prudential in real estate investments in Century City, LA area. And at that particular time, I was getting beautiful bouquets all the time in this new relationship. I mean, it was like just the talk of everything. This woman that I gave the flowers to, it turns out nobody had ever given her flowers. And she was so happy. She was so incredibly grateful.
And this was a plastic flower?
Yeah, it was like an arrangement, like a silk, a silk kind of arrangement thing.
Wow. Wow.
And she just was so, and she didn't know who did it. So she was just kind of going around and thanking everybody just in case it was them and all of that. And I couldn't even rejoice because I was so insincere when I did it. And I really learned a lesson then about you reap as you sow, so shall you reap. That I couldn't even participate in her joy.
Just marinate on that.
Yeah. I wasn't sincere in it.
So there's so many things I want to say, and I want to tie it together and see if it comes out making sense. And if it doesn't, I'm going to love myself anyway. I tell the truth and I reconcile. It's okay. So this idea of spiritual truth and personal truth, and, you know, as you shared, it's really us really being in alignment with our spiritual truth. And I see truth, reconciliation, as an expression of love. And there are people, we hear it, where they say, the way the world is going, we need to do more. Love is not enough. And I've even heard people in the spiritual community who are saying, yeah, I believe in love. I believe in loving one another, but this systemic oppression is just too much. I don't know. You got to do more than love. I'm like, what else what other options do you have? Then when I, okay, go ahead. No, I'll give you, we'll talk about the other part. No. You go ahead.
Here's what I think they're really trying to say. First off, love is a power. It's not just an emotion. It's a force.
Yes.
And what love is, it's the force that unifies everything. It is the unifying force. Okay. Which is why truth and reconciliation is an act of love. Because it is a unifying force. The only thing that ever needs to be healed is just the sense of separation.
Yes.
Okay. What I think people are trying to say in that moment when they're saying love is not enough, it isn't that love isn't enough. But if you don't do something with it, and I wish I could remember King's exact quote, King Jr.'s exact quote, but he basically described it as anemic, like blood that isn't potent enough. Faith without works is dead. See, if you have faith, but you don't do anything with it, it's dead. It's lifeless. It's the same thing until love translates into action,
Yes.
there's still something missing. That's that difference between love and compassion. When it reaches compassion, the love goes into action. We used to say in the Pentecostal church sometimes, don't tell me how much you love me, show me how much you care. Show me how much you care. So I think that's what people are really trying to say, is that if you're doing love from just an emotional standpoint, a feeling standpoint, and you are not coupling that with fierce action, then it is dead. Jesus said, you will know you are my disciples by your love. And what was the evidence of that love? See, the evidence of that love of his disciples was a number of things. It was this reconciliation stuff, this willingness not to other people, to embrace, to love even the unlovable, the untouchables, even the so-called enemy, to still live in oneness with them. It was to share what you had, to give to the poor, feed the hungry, tend to the sick, visit people in prison. It's this, it's this, if you really love, they'll know you by your fruits. They'll be able to look at your life and see. Look at your life and see. And to the credit of people who are saying this, what we know about the quote unquote isms is that it has the two components. There's the attitudinal part, there's the prejudgment, the prejudice, plus the institutional, the systemic. It's both. So if you try to do the systemic without the love, it's not going to work.
Right.
And if you just try to do the love without working on the systemic, it's still not going to work. Jesus worked on the systemic issues. We miss that sometimes. But he worked on the systemic issues. Even something like healing somebody was radical. Because in the moment of that healing, their entire social status was changed. The entire social status was changed. You weren't even qualified to go into the temple if you were sick. The woman with the issue of blood, you couldn't even touch a bleeding woman. It was like reordering society, sharing the Torah, sharing scripture with people who weren't Jews. That was heretical. Oh my God. Oh my God. Overturning the money changers and saying, this mercantile, making a business and a profit here out of what's supposed to be sacred. No.
Not happening.
No. He was even just riding on a donkey from the east gate during the holy days in his last days, while the Roman army is coming in the west gate, was seditious.
So Jesus was a social justice activist.
Oh my God. All over the place. If you understood the customs of the day, you would realize just how radical everything, even that idea of turn the other cheek. You know, we've got that idea that just means like be mamby-pamby and let them slap you all over the place. No. There was an idiomatic saying, turn the other cheek, which meant to turn your eyes like to refocus. Okay. But he's not quoted as saying, turn the other cheek. That's not what he says. It says very specifically, if they hit you on your right cheek, give to them also the other cheek, which was a very specific tactic. See, most people are right-handed. Okay, and if you imagine somebody in front of you, if you're right-handed, their right cheek is going to be like opposite of you. Mm-hmm. You can't hit them head on that right side. The only way you can hit them on the right side is with a backhand lick. Boom. The backhand lick was for inferiors. It was for slaves, servants, women, children. Put them in their place. So what Jesus said is, all right, they hit you with the right hand on your right cheek. Give them your left cheek. Hit me now, mofo. Hit me now.
Yes.
Because if you hit me now on this cheek, you just declared me your equal. So if you're going to hit me, you
got to be a man.
You're going to hit me
equal level.
Yeah, you're going to hit me as an equal.
Right.
Even something as seditious as that.
I think they should have Jesus as a consultant for the Housewives series. No backstabbing. Do it. Woman to woman, man to man.
I mean, that was its own little kind of truth and reconciliation. It said, look, you keep doing this way, and that puts you up and that puts me down. And we're not going to keep doing it that way. Okay. One step towards it is that I'm not going to keep standing here taking this as an inferior. Mm-hmm. And this makes you really look at it now. Mm-hmm. This makes us really stop and look.
Yes. Truth and reconciliation is a process, is ongoing. Healing is a process.
Yeah.
Life is a process.
And it's the same process. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. They're not different processes for big and large. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's all right where you are. Mm-hmm. I had the most extraordinary experience Saturday before last. I do a lot of work here in town with an organization called Barrios Unidos, and they specialize in gang prevention, do a lot of prison outreach work over 40 years, same founder. And they had an unusual, one of a kind, first of a lifetime event. It was called Life After Life. And they had about 60 people there who were former lifers. Hear their stories, document it, the whole bit. Most of those people had done at least 30 years. To be around them and hear their stories was incredible. The first crop of lifers that I started working with 20 years ago, they're all out. And I still have relationships with them, and I have learned from them. There's a TEDx talk I invite everybody to take a look at from 2016, TEDx Berkeley, that I did about my experience with working with them and learning how freedom and anger cannot occupy the same space. That's what they've taught me that. They taught me patience and all of the rest of it. And I did that talk about a guy that did 26 years and was innocent that I met right before he got out and conversed with afterwards. Well, one of the guys that I met at this event, white guy too, is out from the Innocence Project. The Innocence Project is that project started by Brian Stevenson that has gotten all of these lifers off and people on death row. And I asked him, how many years were you locked up? 41. I said, you were innocent and did 41 years? And he said, yes. And what amazes me about all these people, the guilty, the ones that weren't guilty, but like all had the same like experience, is how even now the work that they are doing, they weren't like, let me get as far away from prison as I possibly can. They're like, I am compelled, I am impelled to go back, to make a difference, to keep trying. And this was the thing that they all said. And I have heard it, I don't know how many times, that they never got their freedom until they knew they were already free. Listen to what I am saying. We keep waiting for circumstances to change. We keep waiting for conditions to change. Somebody to get out of the White House, to get a job changed, for some kid to grow up and leave the house, for mama to finally pass on, to get my degree, to lose the weight, to whatever. Okay? These were people locked up for life with no indication that they would ever get out, who had the faith and the courage to do all of this truth and reconciliation stuff that I'm talking about within their own selves, to make the amends, to atone, to come to grips with everything that they've done, to forgive themselves, to pay it forward, even in prison, like do whatever it is that they had to do, and to realize that the parole board did not have their freedom. This guy that I was talking to said that he got his clearance pulled when Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was the governor of California for a while, on his way out, like 250 something lifers that were going to get out, he reneged. The first guy of ours, lifer, who ever got out, who was one of those. And we were there with him that moment that it happened. And he looked at me and said, well, Rev, another white guy. And I'm making that distinction because there's overwhelmingly not white in the prison system. So, and he looked at me, and this guy had been in for some serious stuff. And he looked at me and he said, well, Rev, it just means my work here isn't finished. The guy that I met week before last, he did another 10 years. another 10 years after that.
Mm.
And Paul, the guy that I know that I was talking to, said, well, I guess it just means I'm not ready.
Mm.
And I was furious. And when he finally got out, we were sitting on some rocks in the cliff here at the ocean. And I let him know how furious I was. And I said, why did you say that you weren't ready? If anybody was ready, it was you. And he said, no, I wasn't ready yet. I said, why? And here's what he told me. He said, because at that moment, I still thought the parole board had my freedom.
That's some truth and reconciliation.
That's what he said. He said, I had to realize
that he has his freedom is his.
that I was already free. And when he stood on my pulpit and said that he learned from Nelson Mandela that 100 square feet of geography could not determine his freedom. And he said, I have done so much with so little for so long that now I can do anything with nothing. I have done so much with so little for so long. Now I can do anything with nothing.
Talk about
And
standing God consciousness.
I tell you, I have learned freedom from the people that we would say had the least.
Yeah, so much in that. So much. So the personal truth and reconciliation is a process, is ongoing, that really would become undone. We have to be willing. I'm doing you may know about a gathering that I'm having. It's a 3-part gathering called Representing Our Ancestors, Representing Our Stories. And it came as what I call a dream vision after participating in an event last year, right after George Floyd was killed and the protest was going on. And I was interacting with my friends on Zoom, and they were sharing what it was like to be in Atlanta. And I remember feeling like, what can I do? What can I do? I went to sleep that next morning. I came up with this vision. Now we're on part 3. June 19th is part 3. And we started off dealing like the grief. The part 1 was grief. We're dealing with grief and things that we've held and what we're holding that's in us that we don't even know that was passed on to us from our ancestors. Part 2 was telling a new story. To tell a new story about ourselves, a new story about our ancestors, that they were more than just people who were enslaved. So this new one, we're catching a vision for a new generation. And for me, I see like these so I mean, it was straight from spirit. I mean, thank you for putting that up. Yeah, people can find out more by going to bit.ly/represent vision. It's like we have the tools and we have the information to forgive ourselves, tell our own truth, confront ourselves, reconcile, so that we can actually see in the world what we are part of. For those who are not confined, who've never had the experience, those like moi, who had a judgment of people who are confined, whether, I know their story or not, until I had the experience. What would you say, or how can we get to that place where we can access that kind of compassion? Because sometimes it seems like when we have everything and we can't do anything with everything that we have, we're like, I wish God would listen to me. And here's somebody saying, I can do anything with nothing. How do we access that space to do the deep work and telling a new story so that we can show up as free beings that we are?
one step at a time. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. When we make it so big, it's overwhelming.
Yes.
Because the fact of the matter is that we're imprisoned. We're imprisoned in our own mind. We have all these addictions. There was one guy there at this thing who had only been out for 32 days, also having been in for 41 years. And how overwhelming it is. And it's like that for us. Like it's overwhelming just crossing the street for them. Living this spiritual life is overwhelming to us sometimes. Okay? So what I would say is make it your practice to just show up every day. You know, when Spirit said to me, I don't want your commitment, I was shocked because I was turning my life upside down to be committed to Spirit. Spirit said, no, I want you available. I want you daily available. And the accumulation of the daily availabilities is commitment. It says, I don't want your commitment because your commitment is to show up in the future. And that's where I was, really messing up a marriage at that time. Oh, I was committed. I would have been there to the future, to the death do us part, but I wasn't available every day.
True.
See? Yeah. And that's what Spirit wants. And it says the availability has these three components, as you know: accessibility, attention, and intention.
Yes.
And that's our only job. It's every day to make sure that we are accessible and are giving Spirit our attention. Where's your energy going now? What are the things that you're thinking about? Like, what are you struggling with? It's like energy leaks all over the place. What is your deepest intention? What is your life really about? What are you striving the most for? And when we work on that, then we find ourselves moving in the direction in which we want to go. But we can't get there with all that anxious, harried, scared energy. You gotta
take it down.
Take it down. Be still. Like, and know that I am God. Go into intentional living. That's how we get there. Intentional living. So that every day you can look back at your words. Did I say what I meant? Did I mean what I said? It's this kind of just daily cleanup every day. Spirit said that our real charge is to be authentic. It told me that you thought it was about freedom, but freedom really is just about being your rawest and most authentic self. See, and we can't do this on a national level, a political level, if we're not doing it ourselves.
Yes.
You know, this may sound cold, but we're mad at all these people for denying the insurrection and all of the rest of that. Well, you know what? That's been going on in our own lives, within our own being. Our ego has been doing insurrections all over the place. And instead of us calling it out and checking our ego and saying, well, oh, you done lost your mind up in here. And looking for all of the collusions and who are all the people who've been aiding and abetting in this and whatnot. Oh, and let's shut this down. No, we got a way of telling our own selves a story about our own selves. Like, oh, you know, my ego was just a tourist.
Taking pictures.
Taking pictures. That really wasn't a rebellion. That really wasn't a coup against my spiritual identity. Come on now.
Stop
Come
it.
on now.
Yes.
We're doing the same thing at our own. And please don't have no commission to look into this. Oh, no. We will not do an inventory. And a bipartisan inventory? Oh, no. We ain't going to let the other side into my stuff to see why I do what I do to shut it down. Oh, no. We want to leave a little back door. So, you know, let's not pay too much attention to that. And, you know, we may just want to do it again. So I'm just saying.
Ooh, yes.
I'm just saying.
Cannot have in the world what we're not willing to become.
Yes. We want a fierce accountability at a political level that we're not doing personally. Just saying.
Somebody grab the mic because I'm not about to drop this one yet. Rev D, drop the mic. But before you just step out, I just want to read this in Sacred Yes. You talked about this because I remember when I read this, I had to just stop. It's on the chapter Authenticity, page 146, the Sacred Yes. Your struggle for freedom is really just a demand to be authentic. Rev D, that was literally a bomb when I read that. So, listeners, if you want to do your really commit, be available for your truth and reconciliation process, and you need a guide, you have Sacred Yes, you have Deepest Intent, it's right there. It's right there. Thank you, Rev D. You have served it. You see, you have a all-you-can-eat restaurant, and you don't need to tell us to leave. You serve so much, we'll be like, okay, I'm good, I'm leaving. You don't need to kick us out. We're like, woo, I'm full. So I'm full. I don't know about anybody else. Anything you want to share with the listeners that you're up to, the Inner Light Ministries, other social justice work?
Actually, there's going to be some posting by the end of the day of a couple more workshops that I have coming up. A new one in the Sacred Yes series that I've been doing that starts on June the 17th on Thursdays. And my next social justice one that starts 2 days before that on June the 15th. And you'll be able to find that on our Inner Light Ministries website, and they'll both be up and available. And it's called Reimagining We the People. The founding fathers never envisioned me. So it's time to transform the vision that we have about who is this we the people. So that's three. That one's 3 or 4 weeks. I forgot now, but it'll be up, and we invite anybody to come. It's not just a webinar. These are actual workshops, so they're interactive. You have assignments. We come back. You do breakout groups. You do it in community.
Doing the work.
Yes,
you're doing the work. So you can set yourself free. You can find Rev D on Facebook, Rev Deborah Johnson on Facebook. On IG, it is Rev Deborah Johnson. On Instagram, all the things will be posted there. And you can also find it on Twitter as well, which is at Deborah_Rev. And go to Inner Light Ministries website, innerlightministries.org, right?
Or com. Yeah.
Or .com, right? And also yours. So just one of those. You don't have to go to all of them, but follow Rev D and you got what you need. So if you need help telling your own truth, reconciling your own existence, you got what you need. It's on you now. Rev D,
All right.
thank
Take
you
care.
so much.
Thank you.
We're stepping away from the table. Thank you for serving us.
Peace and blessings, everyone.
Peace
Take
and
care.
blessings. Love you.
Love you too.
Life is good. It's getting better. I am full. I needed it. And I thank you all for being here, for tuning in. There's not much that needs to be said other than emphasize the spiritual truth. We cannot have, you cannot have, I cannot have what we are not willing to be. We cannot have it in the world. So if you want to see it, we must become it. When you become it, it comes. That's the work. You have to be for it to come. So what are you looking for? Whether it's politics, whether it's your relationship with your life, it's a shift in consciousness that needs to happen. If you need any support, and go to my website, lifecoachade.com. And I also invite you to subscribe to my mailing list, lifecoachade.com, lifecoachade.com. Register, subscribe to my mailing list. And you get updates on things that I'm doing. And speaking of things that I'm doing, representing our ancestors, representing our stories, June 19th. Find out more information by going to bit.ly/represent vision. bit.ly/represent vision. This is part 3 of a series. If you missed part 2, or you missed part 1, or maybe 1 and 2, it doesn't matter. Show up, because those of us who showed up were doing the work for you and with you, even without your physical presence. There's really no separation. So join us as we catch a vision for new generation, and it's an opportunity to reclaim our power, to release the story, to tell a new story, and grieve what wants to be grieved. And remember that the roots, your roots, go deep. It goes deep. You're not alone. And some of what you're carrying, dealing with, was passed on to you. So when you join in community, as Rev D was saying earlier, when we come together in community, healing happens. It just speeds up. I love you. I bless you. I appreciate you. And I thank God for you. Teresa, Pam, Audrey is in the house. Nice to see you, Audrey, Kwali, New Jace, and all the other silent listeners, silent viewers. Satima, thank you very much for what you're doing behind the scenes. And if you're listening to this on the archive, or watching this on the archive, should I say, thank you for tuning in. I invite those of you, whether you're watching it live or archive, to like this broadcast and also share it. You know, as you share it, it actually makes the healing process a little bit easier. So when you are going through your truth and reconciliation process and you're becoming undone and you're feeling raw, feeling vulnerable, feeling like people won't understand, it could be this show that helps them understand your process. And they can look at you while you're feeling like, I don't know, it just looks like everything is falling apart. And they can go, sounds like you're going through a truth and reconciliation process. I got you, sis. I got you, my brother. And because they watch this broadcast. So what you give to yourself. You're free not to do it. But every seed, you know, talked about earlier, you reap as you, what is it? As you sow, so shall you reap. Give with a loving heart, with the intention to be of service, intention to be the space for healing. We are in this together. I'm telling you, if you go on YouTube and Google Truth and Reconciliation, depending on what part of the world you're in, particularly America has a loud microphone. You know, I'm always saying that. It's we think that the things that happen in America is only happening there. There's so much going on in the world. It's happening in Canada. It's happening in countries in Africa. There's genocide everywhere. There's oppression everywhere. And it's because I think there's some people who are just gung-ho about forgetting who they are. But we don't have to trip about them. We just do the work. In Ricky's song, Ricky Byers, there's a lyrics to say, our loving will heal the world. Your loving will heal the world. The work you're doing now is not just for you. You're doing it for those who came before you and those who are yet to come. Healing is not localized. It's happening. It goes in all directions. Join me tomorrow with Ricky Byers, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Eastern for soul. No, 2 a.m. UK time. Soul fulfilling. Let's grow together. Let's love together. Let's heal together. Let's love together. Once again, I love you. I bless you. I appreciate you. And I thank God for you. Thank you, Satima. I'm out. We'll be back on the 15th, June 15th, third Tuesday of the month. If you missed it, we're now going to twice a month rather than 4 times a month or 5 times a month, depending how many Tuesdays we have in the month. For a short period of time, there's some things that need to be worked on that I'm working on. So there's a lot of rescheduling and renewing and rebranding and so we can revision what is true. I'm out of here. Peace and blessings. And whatever you're doing, do it with love. I'm out.
Be who you are. Let your light shine.